Welcome back, traders and investors. Kind of a muted reaction off that unenjoyment number. We got a pop up to 1262.75. No good number up there. We seem to be pulling back, Dennis. Not quite the pop we were looking for, huh?
No, it was very boring, actually, Joel. We were up 15 when the number came out, and we dropped a couple of points, and we rallied a couple of points, and we kind of just sat back. We're up 13 now. So really, it was a non-event.
Okay, what's our market movers?
We do have quite a few movers here. Obviously, the overall market, we got quite a few movers on, but stock-specific news, Research in Motion. Always, they've always got good stuff coming out of that company. This morning, again, they continue to disappoint. They announce a charge, plus they lower the guidance for next quarter and the whole next fiscal year, I believe. So, stock is trading $17.45 right now, down $1.13. So sorry about the cough there, folks. Down $1.13 from the 1858 close. 17, I think you got some support in there, but man, here's a day, you're up 1% in the SPOOs, and it's down 6%. Like Research in Motion, just the stock you do not want to have in your portfolio, Joel.
Unless you have it short in your portfolio, Dennis.
Well, short in the portfolio looks pretty.
Okay. Pretty easy numbers to work with here. When the news initially came out, you got a spike down in the stock, and it spiked below $16. It actually got to, I'm trying to find the number here, looks like it got to like $15.80 and then quickly recovered. Now, looking at the chart, you got the low of the move here, at $15.98. That's still $1.50 away from here. So I would expect real good support anywhere from $15.98 to $16.20, 16 and a quarter. Even though it did trade below 16 in the pre-market. Coming back up, Dennis, we're running into yesterday's low at 17.56. So if in fact we could get above there and hold that level, perhaps this news was already in the market.
Yeah, well, you've got to think there's a lot of bad news in the market for that stock, but I don't know, man. I think they just keep finding new ways to disappoint. So everybody expects nothing from Research in Motion, and they disappoint on those expectations, the nothing expectations. Big lots, though, Joel. Let's move on. BIG stock is actually getting killed here now. Early on, they had the earnings. There really wasn't much reaction, but now it's starting to settle in. Stock closed $39.73. And now trading 36.5. So this stock is just getting killed here. $36 is where we bottomed out here in November. I think that's a huge number for this stock, Joel. It looks like that's where it wants to go here in the pre-market. It'll be interesting to see if the pre-market, lows coincide with that $36 November low that we had a week ago. What do you think on big lots, Joel?
We're in agreement here, Dennis. We hit 36.50 in the pre-market just recently. That 36 level is just sticking out like a sore thumb, Dennis. 36.13 was a low on November 23rd. So let's look for support in that area. Below that, you really got nothing there. 34.77 after that. So if you're gonna try and play a bounce, play that 36 area. If it gets below there, look for a quick exit. Coming back on the upside, I do see some resistance in the pre-market at the 37.50 level.
Here's a stock getting a nice pop here this morning. Western Digital, WDC. That stock's been on a heck of a run. It's had a great week. We were at $25 a week ago. Stock is trading $32.10 right now. So, wow, what a week here for Western Digital. They had problems with flooding over in one of their Thai plants. They haven't had production over there for months. Now they've resumed some of that Thai production. So I think that's what's giving the stock a pretty decent lift. Also had an upgrade. I'm looking at the charts here. This 32 area, 31.75 was looking at where we topped out there. If we go back to August, we're trading above there right now. So maybe use that area for a swing number. What do you think on Western Digital, Joel?
No, that's tough. That would have been one you'd like to, had been teed up and been able to go, trade it through going to $30 level. But that's not the case. So now we up here. I look at that. Keep an eye at 32.48 to 32.50. That was the pre-market high. really getting above that 32.50 level. I just think on the monthly it's straight up to 35. I don't think we'll see that today. I think you'll just have to, play the half numbers and the whole numbers on that. Try and scale out of some positions if it does in fact get above 32.5.
Another stock moving here is PVH. Stock is trading up pretty significantly, Joel. 68 or 69.49 after closing at 67.62. Stock raised guidance, which is what's really giving the stock a lift. We topped out there a couple sessions ago, right around $70. So I think that might give you some initial resistance. It's a nice psychological whole numbers too. You know how I like my whole numbers. What do you think on PVH, Joel?
Yeah, I do see that spotty top there at 70.12. That also coincides with the pre-market has really not gotten above 69.50. So above that 69.50, I'd look for that 70.12 level. Coming back on the downside, we're trading considerably above yesterday's high, which was 68.35. But if in fact we get down to that area, it should be good support. What's that company do, Dennis?
That's clothing retailer, Joel. I got you on that one.
Van Heusen, Philip Van Heusen. Okay.
There you go.
I should have known that
they
one.
They disguise themselves, calling themselves the PVH Corp, but it is Philip Van Heusen.
All right, man. I should have known that one.
H&R Block announced earnings there last night. Stock is trading down. It was trading down on those earnings last night as well, so trading the same way in the pre-market here this morning. 1540 is the only trade. Not a lot of size with that trade, so so that always, when they only got 500 shares traded on a stock, it means that it could still, it hasn't really locked in this price, so to speak. There is an offer at 1565, so it does appear that it's going to open lower here on those earnings. What do you think on HRB, Joel?
Good old Herb. I see where that seller's coming at 1560 and 65. That was a low from the previous 2 days, so that should be real good resistance. If in fact it pops above there, look for a test to settlement. Coming back on the downside, you did get a spike in the pre-market. It looks like it got down to 15 and a quarter, so that'd be a decent level to take a look at. But besides that, I like the $15 level. You have a low from the 29th of November at $14.92. So let's call $14.92 to 15 support on this stock today.
Obviously, your European banks, I think we should just talk about them. I know we talk about them seems like every other day, but they are moving, a lot here this morning. That's what the real major driver is. Like a stock like Barclays, Joel, BCS, is trading $12 right now. This was trading, into the nines. It was trading last week. So this stock, is up basically 25% this week. A lot of your other European banks like Deutsche Bank, ING, RBS, those have all had similar moves. Is there any numbers? Like I look at this 12 on Barclays itself, BCS, it looks pretty big. Is there any numbers you want to point out on any of the European banks, Joel?
I see resistance in the Barclays at 12.13. That was a high back from November 8th. Looking at Deutsche Bank, who also is getting a lift here. I see some resistance coming in. Well, you've taken out the resistance at the 40 level, so I would use that as a swing number. Keep an eye out for 40.63 in the Deutsche Bank. That was the high back on November 8th. Above that, you get 41.35. Just for like an overview, and I don't have I'm not able to do the calculations in front of me, but if you take the lows that these stocks made in September and then the high on the pop in October, it looks like a lot of these stocks are just trying to settle in mid-range here, 50% of that move and consolidating. So take a look at those on the charts and make the calculations and expect some consolidation in that area.
BHP Billiton, it's an ADR. BHP trades under. That stock's considering selling their diamond business, so it's getting a really good lift. 76.68 after closing at 74, so it's up $2.68. Obviously, following the European prices over there. 77 and a quarter. I see some size there. I don't know if that's real now. There's 50,000 shares there, which is absolutely enormous for this stock. I don't know if that's going to come into play or not, because what happens is, just for, the traders that don't understand ADRs out there, this is an American depository receipt, which is just basically tracking the European price. So the pricing is from the leader over there in Europe, and our price will just follow that. So it's hard to say where, our size means anything, but that could put a lid on the pricing action over here if that 77.25 is real. So it's a number just to keep an eye on. What do you think about BHP, though, from a technical perspective, Joel?
Well, it looks like someone's trying to step ahead of that 77.25 seller here, topping out in the pre-market, a couple highs at 77.12 and 77. Here's a stock that just gaps all over the place, so kind of hard to tell if in fact they can get through that 77.25 seller. I see a move up to the 78.24 level. Coming back on the downside, you've had a lot of consolidation here at 76 in the 76.50 in the pre-market. So if you are playing it from the long side, we break below the 76.50 level. Look for a quick exit.
Here's one trading down, NNN National Retail Properties, trading down 55 cents, closed 26.05. Trading 25.5. I think if I'm remembering right, we're so short-term traders, hard to remember. I think this had a secondary the other day, didn't it?
Yeah.
Remember that one, Joel?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever, I don't know. Maybe they just gave out the pricing for that secondary. I don't understand why it's trading down the second day, but possibly that they came out with the actual pricing. The pricing's maybe a little lower than the market thought. So that's what I haven't seen the news go by on this because it's just popped in my filter, but I'm thinking that might be what it is. So you may want to just Google that news. You can probably find out what that secondary pricing is, because often those secondary pricing can act like a magnet with the stock. So find out, what that is if you're going to trade this stock today. And what do you think from a technical perspective, though? I look at the 26. That was where some support was. That could give some resistance up there. What do you think, Joel?
This 25.60 seems really interesting. I'd be curious to see what the secondary price is, because that stock really bottomed out there in mid-October, and then it kissed that low 2 days ago. Currently trading below that level, so I'd use that 25.60 as a swing number. Coming back on the downside, you have the low from October 13th at 25.38.
That's all I've got for you today. Obviously, your major driver are those European banks once again. Keep an eye on your U.S. financials. And they don't seem that strong overall, though. Like, usually you see a little more relative strength. Some of them, like Citigroup, are trading up 2%, but J.P. Morgan's only up 1%. Bank of America, it's up a couple of percent. So, the U.S. financials look like we're up 1 to 2%, where some of the European ones are up 5 or 6%. So, keep an eye on the European financials. Those are probably still going to be your leader. And that's all I've got, so we'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Okay, have a good weekend.